Hey guys, back at you again with yet again another movie review. And this one I'm very excited to talk about because today we will be discussing Kinds of Kindness, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, starring Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley, Hong Chow, Joe Alwyn, and Mamadou Athie. And this is basically a Yorgos Lanthimos anthology film. So I can't really describe to you what this movie is about or the plot thereof, but look, I was very excited about this ever since I heard about it last year, and I wasn't entirely sure if it was coming out this year because I heard that they kind of shot it in secret or whatever in 2022, and so I figured it was probably, on the boilerplate sometime soon, but of course Yorgos Lanthimos, just hot off the heels of Poor Things, and Emma Stone on her second Oscar win for Best Actress for that film as well. I was very much looking forward to this because, Poor Things was one of my absolute favorite films of 2023, and I think one of the best movies of this decade so far. So, the expectations were fairly high, and then I heard the reviews coming out of Cannes, and it was kind of like, net positive, and of course Jesse Plemons won Best Actor at Cannes, so that was something to look forward to, seeing his performance. And of course this is the first film that Yorgos Lanthimos has co-written with Ethemos Philippou since, I believe, The Lobster, so this is going back to the more darker, more bizarre, roots that Yorgos Lanthimos had in his filmography. And, the work he's done with Tony McNamara I think is quite exceptional, but it's certainly, as strange as it still is, it's more accessible than these types of films. And just for context, I loved The Lobster. That was my introduction to Yorgos Lanthimos, and that actually made my top 10 of the year, though that probably wouldn't have been the case now. So I do love a lot of what he was doing back then, and that certainly is felt all the way throughout this film, the very off-putting, bizarre interactions that characters have with each other that are very purposely stilted and absolutely hysterical at points. And there's so much weird stuff going on here with weird sex cults and, I guess, cuckolding. It's really, really bizarre, and you really have to see it for yourself. But this film, your mileage is going to vary, I think, and it certainly did on my end as well. There's parts of this film that I think are really, really exceptional, and other parts that I'm not as big on. Now, of course, there are three sections, the first one being the death of RMF, and then RMF is flying, and then, of course, RMF eats a sandwich, so that probably is intriguing already, just hearing those three titles. And they, of course, revolve around this one character, RMF, though he really isn't the focus at all. It's just all these disparate stories that have the same actors playing different roles in them. And I think the title of the movie really says a lot about the themes in this film. And, of course, the way they use Eurythmics' Sweet Dreams Are Made of This really kind of spells out what each segment's about and what the film is about in totality, which I really loved in that regard, and how he lays it out to you right from the beginning of the film, and you probably aren't even aware of it. And these anthology segments go in so many dizzying directions, some of which work and some which don't. I mean, I think the first section with Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley, and Hong Chow primarily is really, really fantastic. I think this is where Jesse Plemons really gets to shine. He automatically fits in as a Yorgos Lanthimos regular. He completely suits his style in the best way imaginable, and I really think his deadpan comedic timing is absolutely on point in this film. And I love the dynamic between him and Willem Dafoe in that. And I think that one tells the most clear-cut story that I think really has a lot of thematic value and richness to it. And that's not to say these other ones don't as well, but the second segment, this one of course has Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone, Mamadou Athie, Margaret Qualley, Willem Dafoe, a lot of the same players show up, in of course some in smaller roles. And I think as this was starting, I thought it could have been my favorite, but by the end I feel like I was a bit confused as to what it was saying, because without getting into spoilers, it really made me question certain things that were happening in this narrative, and some very grotesque elements to this one, and also a bizarrely funny joke that kind of comes out of nowhere that I think was one of the absolute best moments in the film. But I think by the end of this, I really wasn't quite into the way this narrative came together. But at the same time, even though I had these questions, the fact that the film had me raise these questions in the first place, I think is something that is noteworthy, because it's not just completely empty, I don't think. And I know some people will say this film overall is just weird for the sake of being weird, and I don't think that's entirely unwarranted, but I still feel like the fact that the film is making me think and asking these questions does say a lot about perhaps the intention, even though it may seem a bit misguided. And the third section I thought was going to be my favorite. Yet again, this is a continuing pattern here. This one primarily starring Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Margaret Qualley, Willem Dafoe, Hong Chow, Joe Allen. I think this one really had me right up until the end, and I think it had a very, very rich thematic purpose that I feel some people might not pick up on, but it really was kind of profound when I was watching it, and I really was kind of enthralled with parts of this narrative. But yet again, I think it just leaves a little bit too much to be desired by the end. I appreciate the ambition of it, though I don't really understand what it meant by the end of it. Maybe I'm not supposed to, maybe I am. I don't know, but I did think it was good overall. I just think that this film is very uneven, and I will say this film is almost 3 hours long, or it's at least over 2.5 hours, and I really didn't think that the pacing was much of an issue. I was pretty engaged throughout the entire movie. It was entertaining throughout. I was laughing the whole time because it's just so bizarre in very, very dark and twisted ways. Sometimes I felt bad laughing at it. But even so, I really do think that this is an ambitious project, of course, that not everyone is going to be into, and I can't even say that I fully loved it, because part of me is like, what was the point of some of this, you know? And I think it is very self-indulgent. It's kind of pretentious. I mean, which is fine, I suppose, you know, considering this film is the type of film that it is. But if you guys absolutely love Poor Things and aren't really familiar with a lot of his other stuff that he's done before, this isn't necessarily going to be for you. Unless you really are into, like, the dogtooth sort of sensibilities that Yorgos Lanthimos showed on early in his career. I do think that this is very much worth a watch, because this is something that is just so bizarre to come out in the middle of the summer, a very art house anthology film from an auteur filmmaker who's really proven himself, and shows that, you know, I just want to take a break and kind of do something a bit more out there and obscure. And I appreciate a lot of themes of what he's going for, how he talks about control, power, abuse, in really, really bizarre and interesting ways. This isn't going to be for everyone, like I said, but I still think it's worth checking out. Now, I'd have to rate these sections individually first, because I think the first one would be an 8 out of 10 for me. The second one would be a 6 out of 10. And the third one would be a 7 out of 10. So that evens out for my score of Kinds of Kindness at a 7 out of 10. This, yet again, please go check it out if you are into this type of film. And if you are a fan of Yorgos Lanthimos, you should definitely check it out at the very least. And I'm very, very excited to see the film that he's doing with Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone next year. But you guys let me know what you thought about Kinds of Kindness down in the comments below. What did you think about the themes in the film, how each segment tied together? Let me know. And of course, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more movie reviews like this. There should be some more coming very, very soon by this weekend at the beginning of the week. So stay tuned for those. And until then, I will talk to you guys later. Some of them